So it's going to be a little bit about a different subject. This is my grandma, my grandmother that died a long time ago. And she passed away like 7 or 8 years ago. And I was never called about her passing, let alone to even invited for the funeral. And she was a part of my life, pretty well around my life. Lived with us, used to go to Christmas and Thanksgiving and take care of her, pick her up in all kinds of different places growing up. And was in hospitals, and I didn't get a phone call that she had died. And I was like 3 weeks later that I was just told by my mother's twin, her triplet, oh, she died, we buried her already. Didn't care. I didn't know really what to think because of the psychologists and all this that's saying who does what. But one of the things that's sort of very, very rattling with this is when I went to go visit my grandma at the nursing home with my mother. What I thought was my mother wasn't my mother, was her twin, her triplet, my mom's identical triplet, and my Uncle Beto and Lupe. And when we went there, we were in the kitchen, the cafeteria, we're all eating together, or I think she was eating some food, and we're all talking. And I noticed that my mother's sister, the identical triplet sister, looked over at her mother, and she says, oh, and she gave an attitude toward my grandma. And she looked at her, she goes, oh, hi, Mom. And my grandma looked at her like, entirely like shame. She looked at her like, but I made a mistake. And I didn't say anything because I didn't understand it. I just immediately knew that my grandma was giving my sister, who I thought looks exactly like my mother's triplet. So my assumptions of this circumstance is whatever happened in Mexico, because I don't think, in fact I know that my biological mother, my biological grandmother is no longer alive, and I never knew who she was. But given the idea how Mexico is, that my mom's real biological mother had to have had triplets, right? They're all triplets, and somehow they got separated. How they got separated is an entire story that is completely unknown to me. Whether this baby was stolen, which I think possibly was, I don't know what the circumstances. Maybe the baby was given up because it is an important area, but it questions a lot about the story of, because my mother used to tell me what her life was like a little bit when she was like a little girl growing up as a kid, and growing up as a teenager, how my grandma used to treat her and how her dad used to treat her. And I think it's important for me to talk about this. There was not really any resolving or fixing, but I just wanted to talk about that for a moment because I noticed how my mother looked at her, and she looked at her like she was like, look what you did, you made a mistake, look what you did. And she looked at her like, it's not, like disappointment. Like my grandma looked at my mother's, her daughter, which I don't even know her name, but it's not my biological mother. It's not Celestina Melendez. It's my mom's sister. So I don't know who gives her permission to do this. The time is gone. Everything's been burnt to the ground. But that's still pretty disturbing that nobody said anything about that. Because I don't understand why my grandmother is taken out of the picture. They bury her and she dies, and I never get told. And yet, these two identical sisters, they think because they're identical sisters with my mother, which they are, that they inherit what my father and me immediate and all these experiences. They think they understand who my uncle was or my Lupe, and they have no fucking idea. And I don't know if it's because they didn't have a family. I don't know what environment they came from, but it very much seems like scavengers. I just want a family. I'm just going to take it away from you and take whatever I want and just keep surviving, and very ruthlessly, because there wasn't any boundaries of respect of any kind. And with some of this that still bothers me to this day, that was being simplified, was I talk about that when my best friend, it's like my brother, died. If you find cameras to find what all these people that were there, if there was cameras in there or whatever, I mean, it's hard for me to rationalize and find ever any okay for someone who you didn't know, and you're imposing yourself as my mother, and you're not my mother, and you show up to a funeral for someone you don't know, and you taunt the casket in front of everybody. Like, I wasn't even looking in that direction so much as there was groups of people that all looked that way to like stop my like. And what terrorized me is I saw how Mr. Zarate looked at my so-called mother, and it wasn't her. Like, they, all of them at the same time looked at him, "You're not welcomed here, look." And it wasn't because of just whatever was said. She was taunting the casket like, so what? I don't give a damn. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I was not causing a disturbance. I didn't say anything. I sort of just kind of kept my head down, and I was just depressed and mourning. And, you know, I don't know who would have allowed that. I don't know who would have allowed my mom's sister to show up and do that in front of. And Mr. Zarate was dying, okay, in a hospital when his son died. Like, the penetrating that's such scumming behavior that it's hard for me, because it's one thing is as painful it is. People do that to me all the time, everywhere I go. They tell me about my dead sister. They give me calls at 5 o'clock in the morning telling me my dead sister's spirit is trying to give a message or some shit about the murder attempt that happened to me. All kinds of crap. I mean, this black guy that lives over here is laughing, taunting my dead sister's cemetery. He thinks he's the owner and the angel that protects her, and he has more emotion for the dead corpse of my sister. It's very painful, but when you're actually in front of a dead body, and it's in front of everybody, and there's a lot of people there. I mean, it was crowded, and his body's really in there. Mr. Zarate was already, like, I'm going to his house to comfort him, and I could never express what that was like for me enough. And to see that it wasn't, because I could tell that my mother's body movement wasn't like her. She looked different. I could tell that she looked a little bit different, like she did not, like, physically. And her body language wasn't exactly like how my mother would have behaved. She showed up in a way that was very in an attitude, disrespectful way, and like to sort of kind of scold me or some shit as well. And, you know, with this attitude, but didn't say anything or physical movement, but it just, you could sense it. But to do, like, because Mr. Zarate, when she did that, I saw Mr. Zarate look over to her like, "What are you doing to my son?" Like, this man is dying of cancer. I mean, I saw all of them. I talked to Alicia and I talked to Rodrigo about this. And I was like, I felt like saying sorry, like, for this unbelievable behavior. Like, what the fuck? This is my mother. You know, the word label as mother gets attached to holiness, as opposed to oh, mothers don't kill people or do disgusting things. Remember, because dads are just dads, and moms are always get the holy attached to it. But there was nothing holy that was going on here. And Mr. Girardi used to always tell me he always very cared about me so much. He was very cared a lot about me, and I always think about him, and quite frequently, and always remember the things that he had said to me, and the conversations I used to have with him. And he had his first wife that died, like my dad died. His dad was old. How I first met him, all these things, and for him to watch him as fragile he was getting, dying, and my mother's twin to do that in front of the casket was like, to me, I thought that this person doesn't have any kind of respect for mortality. Like, you're not, even if you're pissed off at me, you're doing this to a kid in front of to this family to put on a show. I mean, this is what it looked like. Like, the way that she sort of just looked like and sort of kind of behaved was fucking disturbing. Like, I was like shamed and felt that way when I was sitting down, and I saw people in front of me all kind of look, what the hell are you doing? Like, everybody was mourning. Like, everybody sad in sort of this sort of state of sadness. There was nothing like that was going on. People stopped for a second and looked, and like, what the fuck? And there was like she was trying to drag this onto her and drag this on in a bad way. Like, she didn't seem to be. And I talked about Rodrigo about this, and when I went to his house like 5 months later, and I talked about and Alicia, they both, and I talked to them, and I was talking about Rodrigo, about Edward being killed, and then Edward or Billy. Something had happened to Billy. They don't know what was going on, but it was really messed up. And I just remember, and I remember I talked to Elisa slightly about this, and it's like, your mother didn't give a shit. Like, it's hard because I had been so close to that family, and here, to Elise, specifically Alicia, Robert Girardi, Mr. Girardi, and Rodrigo, Jesse. Married too, but mostly like Alicia and Mr. Girardi. And for me to be able to just witness that, you can't just get off it because it's the label of mother. And I was so bothered by that, and they were bothered by that. When I'm watching Mr. Girardi in his last moments, because he was so dearly of his son, and it was his only boy he had out of the 7 female daughters he had that he took care of. And I go to his house after the cemetery, after the funeral services, and I visit him. And, it made it even that much more harder, because he knew I didn't have anybody. He knew and was always worried that you were going to be thrown to the streets, and it's a horrible world out there. They are going to eat you up like animals, like parasites. You're going to be food for the bugs and the insects, and he was worried, and he was the only one that actually worried about my life about that much, because there wasn't too many people that were really worried what my future was going to be like. There wasn't anyone. He told me I could finish my school, to go to school, and there was all these conversations, but it was so impacting to me that I was scared, that I was like, this is a very lethal, dangerous death game, and I don't like this. And if everything's going on with what was going on with my father, then what are you going to do to me? You just did this to a 17-year-old kid that got hit by a car at 70, 60 miles an hour. Okay? And I'm so disturbed by this whole circumstances, because I'm not blaming her also. Whoever it was, I believe it was psychologists that sent her. Wherever it was that was going on, there was something else in the picture that I believe also poisoned her, because she doesn't know my other relatives. My whole family hates me. Like, Lupe and my uncle, Beth. I mean, you don't even know the stories that I haven't put on video because I'm nervous and scared that I just don't want to say shit about. But they don't know the discussing. Whoever the psychologist, they don't give a shit. They just want to put somebody in charge and put this one the hero, and they just want somebody else to pay for it. And they have me suffer for it. They don't care, genuinely. They don't give a shit because they don't want me. The more that I talk about the truth, the more they beat the fuck out of me to keep my mouth shut, to make up whatever story, fantasy world, storybook they want to tell everybody what happened and who gets away with what. And they don't want me to come out because I played everything so well out in my life, and they really knew that I wasn't the bad person, it was them. And it was my father, not their bank account. And it's too late. But it was really bad. So they show up in the picture, and I knew they would have got poisoned like that. 100,000%. So, but I can't say anything. So, but as far as that goes, that's something that it was very hard for me, and when I watched Alicia crying, because I knew it was that whole situation. You could just sense it, and I don't know in any circumstance any excuse for that. I don't care if it was psychology. This man was dying of cancer, and there you are tying. I mean, I'm telling you, I was way on the other side. You could sense it, and I wasn't even I was just kind of just looking over there. I saw people with their heads down, like the row behind me, and like a couple people, and could see people in the corner of my eyes in front of me from the people that were all lined up, walking by the casket as I was sitting down. All stopped what they're doing and looked at him like a crazy look, get the fuck away from that, and I saw several people, they weren't even looking in that direction because it looked so disrespectful. But I saw Rodrigo, Alicia, Selena, Mr. Zarate, Mary, I think it was sitting there as well, and maybe a few other relatives. I saw all of them look up and stop, what the fuck do you think this is? You're a merry-go-round. I can't believe you just did that. And you could just sense it was really just really awful. Now, this is a long time ago. It doesn't even matter. Psychologist is going to fix it. Let me tell you something. If you thought that was as bad as it was, you will never get enough videos for me to tell you what they did about this dead little sister of mine that hasn't got a proper burial. This black motherfucker of a monkey over here that has been sitting in the corner, that is Snoop Dogg's relative, has been scumming this shit out of my sister for whatever exchange is going to be, whatever profit it's going to be. It is the most disgusting, despicable shit you could ever imagine. You got to understand that prison mentality. The guy that grabs feces out of the toilet and starts smearing all the guy that grabs fucking feces and smashes it into your mouth when you want to fight. That's him. It doesn't change if you try to clean your mouth out. It doesn't matter. That's the type of disgusting behavior this motherfucker's doing. I'm walking over there, he's laughing, but it's very dark psychology. It's very, let me trick you. On top of these people shooting these electronic devices at me. So the people that are shooting these electronic devices are playing along with it. So you're not alone in this, Alicia, Rodrigo, or whoever. I know that people have already moved on in their life, but I could never express how many times people have scummed the shit out of that dead little girl. I mean, it's hard for me to think because it's a kid and it's my sister. I'm telling you, I having Lindsay Wessinger call me at fucking 4 o'clock in the fucking morning to use and shuttle the spirit of this little girl. I do not have any belief that this girl's spirit is any yada yada fairyland. I believe she's with Jesus. I believe she's in the hands and arms of Jesus Christ, and she's better and healthy, and she's safe with God. I do not believe mediumship. She calls me at 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning because that's around the time that well, in the middle of the night because I had a murder attempt. So when I'm being bam, 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 being kicked in my ribs, my throat, my face, punched in the back of the head, they want to use these three black guys as how can you merge this murder attempt of putting a knife to my throat to precious little girl that had Down syndrome. She was vomiting, she was throwing up, she was very sick. We treat death in the afterlife and God and what Jesus would want with respect of this beautiful soul and this thing that was deformed, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know her name. Marissa, I think it's Miranda, had a soul and had a purpose. And how can you fuse those emotions with those three black guys that did this to me? Well, better yet, call me at 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the fucking morning to tell me that my sister's telling me some secret fucking message and I've never even heard, because she was telling me she was a Jesus Christ worshiper, and now all of a sudden you went and she's taunting the dead little girl, like just spitting the shit. That's what you're doing. I don't say anything. I'm like, okay, whatever, she's yours. I don't want to argue. But this black guy's doing the same thing. So what he's trying to do is milk the emotions, because there's no proper burial that this little girl ever had. I'm her direct brother. My biological father's not alive anymore. He died, and the last thing I remember him, he was crying about his little girl. But he was not in the picture. What I experienced with this little girl just got shitted on by this nigga for his niggas, for the DJ competition, for the DJ war, for his niggas. You know how he came through. He cleans up like I'm talking about doo-doo out of the toilet and wipe it in the motherfucker's mouth. Fucking dirty ass motherfucker. I mean, you know how you do it. Fucking you take charge of shit and you cement that glue in there. But it doesn't matter when you start. You add that pigmentation of behavior, it's done. You've already done that. You can't really walk away from that. Is this beauty if that never happened? So that's what his purpose is to clean up for the 3 murder attempts and for Kenneth. Because it's all about a psychological game. He starts behaving like Kenneth. He'll open doors, close, pretends it's a DJ booth. He starts turning behind his back toward me, starts saying something, and it's all about the dead little girl, the murder attempt, and it's to make the benefiting equity then recycle over to Kenneth Cooper, who nobody wants to believe me to this day that he was scolding and mouthing off about my dead little sister, and I had no idea that he was I was trying to figure out what the fuck he was doing, and this is what he was doing. I know 1,000%, there's no doubt. He was spitting and scumming the shit at my dead sister for his profitable gain. And this dude is here protecting him. And I'm the one that's paying for this, suffering for this. There's no reason for this. He's driving the same car as my biological father. He's been told to drive that car or whatever the situation is. But I just try to leave it up to Jesus' hands and God. But you got to understand that this disrespectful shit is I just couldn't do that. I mean, if it was like when I'm talking to my mother, I try my best not to even want to. It's not even my mother's sister, identical sister. I try not to bring anything up that's bad, but it's very difficult to. And then they shoot me with electronic devices, and sometimes I kind of say something and it directly sounds like that's what I meant, but that's not what I was trying to say. And it's the people using the electronic devices, and they continue to milk it. Like, they tell my mother to put a trash bag that looks like the dead body of my sister in the living room with a record case. It looks like a big duffel case of records where Michael Rossiter used to keep his records. So they want to make their exchanges. This is very high level intelligence to how to strip it away, because remember, this dead little girl did not get a proper burial with her own blood, flesh and blood. Now, Ivan is her brother. Do I believe I'm her brother? Yeah. to some extent, but I didn't take care of her. I just knew this is my blood and flesh. We shared the same mother and father. I just know there was no proper burial. There was no fucking flowers. There was no moment of silence. I talked about this. So that's always good. That's a guarantee. That dead body and dead little kid is always going to be a guarantee to be used as a weapon for Kenneth. And it always has been for the Cooper family. And for anyone else that wants to cheer for him like this nigga is doing it for him. When somebody gets sick, then use a little girl again. When you want to use it for another excuse, use it for that profitable gain again. But it doesn't change the fact that if there ever is a day that there is going to be a proper burial for this little girl, that is going to be a guarantee in exchange. And that's why they're doing that. And it's why Kenneth did that. People have nobody knows the story, how scumming shit that he was doing in front of me off this dead, like he was just, and I'm like astonished in what this pathological liar is. And it's very hard for me. I'm a forgiving person, but no, not a dead little kid. And I can't do anything because remember, President Barack Obama is taking charge over the dead little girl. He sends his psychologists, he sends his niggas, he sends his people. There's nothing I can do. I have to leave it up to Jesus. I have no choice. I have no choice. But there's always a guarantee. Having a proper burial for a dead little girl that was my sister, there was like a ghost figure. Like it was a haunting. It's a haunting story. This girl wore a pink outfit in front of my house, walking back and forth, shitting and pissing herself. Like, and I seen this girl cry in front of me. I'd seen, and let me tell you, the extent of who everyone parasitically was everybody. It was so disgusting. And when I finally spilled the bean, when the beans finally got spilled on this, the psychologists and people didn't care. They wanted to make sure they were going to make Sarah Cooper a hero. They wanted to make sure Kenneth Cooper was going to get the best in hero, and they would transfer over to white power, to Madison Cooper and the white supremacy. And then for the niggas, because Kenneth did the favorite black radio station 97.9 The Beat. He's for the niggas, and it's all entangled in just hatred and racism and all kinds of shit. But it doesn't change when you go and do a proper burial, if it's ever going to, if ever, that's a guarantee. That is something that's going to, is always going to affect anybody, or it's always sort of a settling moment. It's always a settling moment. And so, you don't even know this story either. This guy next door, this transgender China motherfucker over next door to my room, he keeps shutting the door off and on, because remember I told you she's my next door neighbor? Well, he'll shut the door, open a door, and then the other day, they sent some guy that looks like my biological father, throw some water in the gallons and cups of water, some shit, some bottles of water, delivery service out in the living room, and there's weed smoke everywhere, and so he opens the door like he's charging at me. Like, I'm Miranda, I'm going to claim her body and I'm going to show Hector what's going on. So you're changing the spiritual aspect of who this identity of this little girl is for transgender and for Kenneth. But it's just psychology cleaning it up because it's just cleaning up. And this Chinese piece of shit motherfucker don't give a fuck. My sister died a long time ago, and it's just a joyride because this is his transgender gay community. That's how we're going to do it. I can't say anything. I can't do anything. So for those who don't know how many times you may have experienced any disrespect, you don't want to jump on this roller coaster because it's such a horrible feeling. Like I just couldn't do that on a repeated basis, but that's what the president is ordering, and it's just, as much as I hate to say it, that's exactly what it is. It's just a worthless dead corpse to drag it around for hip-hop and for the movement. There's no reason that it should have been scummed like that, to that level of degree, by that number of people that were doing it. And they know exactly what this is doing. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you even more stories. I'm getting off the fucking bus, and the bus drivers are fucking giving the salute of, shooting the AR-15 to killing the Taliban, like, You do a proper killing with a fucking AR-15, don't you? And they're waving at the house I'm living at, like he does a proper fucking killing, like murder suicide mentality. For those that know what I'm talking about, the person that's willing to go to the cemetery and prison for life for it, but in a different sort of state platform of it. Go down the rat hole to the suicide game. And this is what they're going to do. So they're going to target, and I know this guy and several other people in this house they want to target the most cemented parts of this dead little girl so they can harvest it for profitable gain. That's the most important, because that sticks with me. It stays, and it's very damaging, and it's very personal. That's my flesh and blood. I even got her hair cut. I even got a little bit of her kind of how she had her hair. I look a little bit like her. And they know all the details. So what they're going to do is, Michaela, what's a profitable gain to shift the emotions and spirit and religious belief and spiritual beliefs so that the comfortability of emotion, gratitudes, and gravitates to, yeah, I'm the one that got it. Right? Because it's very comfortable thinking, oh, my sister's waiting for me in the afterlife, and it's just spirit world is just guiding me and helping me. Instead of thinking that, oh, it's the exorcist, that little girl there after me, because they just look what I did, it was wrong. And look how blessing Sarah Cooper, and especially Kenneth, because Kenneth just has angel eyes and did angel behavior for music for Michael Jackson. And then throw Michael Jackson in the picture. So what's a profitable gain they're going to do now? What's the next thing? What's the ultimate thing? Since my sister Michaela is a girl, but she's half white, half Mexican, and she looks a little bit like her, but she's healthy. Shift the representation, boom, right over to her. But there's a way to do that. Why all the damaging? Then you exchange it with her for hip hop Kenneth, for the niggas right over there. And it's very nasty. It's not something that I do not like to talk about, but it doesn't change the actions. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care anything about that shit. I don't care what fame or how much suicide or death they're scavenging. His face looks like a demon. Like if you look at his face, it looks like a fucking demon. It looks like a fucking vulture that's digging into her rib cage, just eating, because she's just for Kenneth emotions. Because that happened a long time ago. You don't know how we do it over here. For the gays, gays and transgenders. I feel emotions for president, for the American soldiers that fucking died in Iraq. I had to get the little girl, and it's crazy mentalities like that. And I don't like to play a part of that, but I think it's important. And to talk about, because I'm always like, Jesus, God, Jesus, help me deal with this. God, Jesus, help me deal with this. Lord, I know she's in the embracement of her arms, and you're guiding her, you're protecting her. She's in heaven, she's healthy, and she's beautiful now. There's nothing I can do. Rest my emotions in the Lord, Jesus, to help me with this, because nobody wants to experience that shit. Like, just scolding. That's what your purpose is. The psychologists that are doing this in this mapping out situation is doing this. Like, that's what they're doing. This is a Mexican little girl that has the same hair color as I have. We share the same mother and same father. She was blind. I don't know if she was deaf. I don't think she was deaf. I do remember, I think she could hear. And it's so fucked up. Like, you don't understand how bad they scavenge off of this dead little girl. Like, I go to the nursing home, okay? This is a real woman. I'm pretty sure I'm like almost 1,000% this is a real woman. And I go to the door, she opens the door, and she's kind of a pretty girl, but she's like she looked like she was probably a really hot girl when she was younger, but she's like old, she's like 60, but she's like a hot 60-year-old. And she's walking with me, and the whole sensation I'm getting from this person is scavenging. They're white, period. You're scavenging. You're for them. You're nothing for me. You don't know who the fuck I am. You don't know anything about me. You're just scavenging for Michael Jackson, the president, the Marine that died out there and got killed. And they find a reason to do the killing, point the gun at me. And they'll just go crazy into this. So we're walking down, and then she goes, okay, I'm going to throw you right over there. And she walks over to the other door across the hall, and she's standing at the doorway. She looks like she's looking at somebody's desk, and she goes, okay, I'm going to leave you right there. And she's looking at like somebody at the desk. And what she's doing something psychologically that's very poisoning to my sister, is to now represent herself as the leader and spokesperson for her. To give her now credit that she did something for me instead of Patricia Gadina for, hip hop, Kino, I'm saying Madison, you know how whites do it, you know how, the good quality people do it, you know how the gays do it, primarily the transgender, so it's really fucked up. But heterosexual females, 1,000% always understand that better. They understand children fucking 100,000 times more complex and more endearing than a transgender is. So I give her that. But I'm thinking to myself, and I don't say anything. Remember, this is always about shifting things, but it never changes that it's always like, it's so much like pouring salt over a wound. And it doesn't feel great. And I'm always like, Jesus God, she's God now, please help me, protect me. She's with Jesus. I have to, let go. I'm not trying to attach, and because that's all they're doing. Every transgender is parasitically scavenging off the dead ribs off this little girl so horrifically in front of my face, because they want to generate the spirituality to transgender Patricia and for the transgender movement, for then Michael Jackson and the music community, and for the gay movement. Oh, look what we gave you. We gave you dog shit. No, it was President Barack Obama and his banana dick daughter. That's exactly what it's for. There's a war and conversation that's never going to be won. Ever. They're throwing that shit at me. And if there's ever a proper burial, that's how they threw this shit on me. They're going to kill the little girl. They're going to pay for the house, spit at it, and then use the Bible to use her as a wash rag. Smarter than you. Now, I'm going to be smarter than you now. I'm going to use these tactical ways. Smarter than you now, stupid. But it doesn't change that you're doing this to the spiritual understanding of it, the identity of the soul, my sister, for Kenneth's profitable gain. Because there's a whole lot of other circumstances that are going on that I have, how many enemies I have that I haven't talked about yet. And I know what's going on. And much more deeper than I've ever said. And I can't say anything simply because I know that it doesn't matter. They're just going to make it worse for me. What's going to happen is it's just worst of scum behavior, what they're doing. It's selfish greed at very core levels. So there's nothing that I can do about it other than just Jesus God, and try to do the best I can on a day-to-day basis. But it's never a good exercise to do. People die all the time. But when you get placed in the public eye and you get raped by a transgender and they try to exchange that dead little girl for Patricia Gadina, and they do it with a bunch of transgenders, and they justify me being raped by a transgender, I mean, it's so fucking mutilating and disgusting. It's not like a forgiveness thing. They parasitically, they fucking feast on that shit. It's so fucking spiritually disgusting and emotionally disgusting, because their interest is not in any respect. Their interest is transgender experience, transgender movement. It's transgender. It's for Kenneth trans. No, I'm gonna just give him a little bit of this. No, we're gonna give this to Kenneth a lot. No, you don't know pain, suffering. You don't know shit. It's always who gets the highest profitable gain in exchanges. It's not necessarily going to be money. It's going to be the emotions, the spiritual, the remaining residue, the time, things to sacrifice, all that shit. It's not to benefit me. If you win the lottery, nobody wants you to become a millionaire. Why does everyone else want you to become a millionaire so you can go better your life and win the lottery, and they're not, and they have to work for the rest of their, they have to live a shit life, what they think would be a shit life, right? Even if they don't live a shit life, they think they live a better life, why would they want to give you a lot of fucking money, you know? But anyway, I think it's important to talk about. I try to leave it up to Jesus and God, and it's disturbing because then this gets used because Kenneth was doing the same thing when he scummed my father at the cemetery at this funeral service. You know, it doesn't ever stop. You don't understand how disgusting it is that when you can no longer talk, you can't do anything other than, like, when I say you can't talk, like a chihuahua in a cage, like you beat the fuck out of it, you're not going to say anything. And to dwindle out the time, remember, it's always smarter than you. I'm smarter than you, and I'm going to outthink you penitentiary style. And it's never leaving. There are people that the president, George Bush, the scum pieces of shit like that, they will sink their teeth. You're going down the cemetery with me. I don't care. They live their make-believe fucking gods. Their shrines bullshit, and they will kill you. They will sink that knife into your throat and drag you into the fucking water with them. They don't give a fuck, and they will do it. Remember how a Marine soldier fucking died in Iraq? Well, that's how I'm going to shoot my gun at you. That's the mentality. Remember how he got burned alive in Iraq? I do it for American flag and for the white America. They don't give a fuck. Personally, they don't give a shit. They're nothing. That's why I always have to leave it up to Jesus. And unfortunately, it's not something you always want to be doing and practicing, you know, to that level of degree for that, you know. It's like someone raping you on the weekends, you know, saying, oh, it's okay, Jesus Christ, I'll rape you again next week. And, oh, it's okay, Jesus Christ, again, okay, rape you again. Oh, Jesus, well, you know, let me point the finger somewhere else about another problem. It just doesn't go anywhere, you know, and unfortunately, it's got out of hand, and there's no fixing other than accepting what's happened, and leaving it up to God. God, you know these psychologists that are getting my mother's twin to spit on the ground, do psychology. That's exactly what you do. You just do it in very slices manners. It's so crazy in the psychology and sick shit that they do that they think that it's an infrastructure that apparently can resolve all existence of human life, including into the afterlife. And I don't believe that. I don't think psychology and their behavior is going to be accepted. Whatever it is that they think is just human form, which I believe that there is an afterlife, humans have souls or consciousness that remain, and something happens to that, and your life here on earth had some sort of degree of purpose. You know, your psychology is still scumming that. Even though you think it's just psychology, you're doing it with that intention. I don't think you can outsmart that. I don't think you can outsmart God and the Jesus Christ shit. I don't think you can outsmart it out and keep making excuses. But, you know, in the reality of it, they can. But I don't believe that. I think it sucks because you lose your opportunities out in life and overall picture. But I don't think you can. You know, I don't believe that a human being has the ability to do that, and they're willing to take that risk, and it's very frightening. So anyway, I thought I'd make a video on this. When I saw that situation happen with Robert Girardi, you know, I was thinking of Edward Rangel, and I was just like, you know, Edward Rangel died with him. There were 18 and 17 years old. Edward Rangel, he got skinned alive. Okay, for those that don't, he got skinned all the way across his face, like skinned. Like he got stuck underneath the car, and he was skinned on the concrete for a quarter of a mile. He was all skinned, like there, all the side of his face. And look over and I see what this is happening, and you know, it was, you know, and you don't understand what I mean when I think about when that happened to Edward. The thing that I can only think of that when he was stuck underneath that car is like, I don't think he would have wanted to live because he was going to be disfigured. I'm not sure or believe that he, at that moment when he couldn't get out of that car and he was being dragged and it was happening, that he was just like, I hope this is over with, because I don't want to look like this when this is over with. Because he took care of himself really well, and he just completely, and this is a kid, and here they are with the psychologist buying you a house, buying you a car. Now get her to kill me and say, oh, it's just psychology, and see, it goes on and on and on and on and on. But you know, you get more problems to find out more problems to fix more problems to then counter it with something else, and time is still passing by. And it did. But it's hard to go into mentally how despicable that little girl was scummed by so many people, okay? Relatives. Unbelievable. Frankie had no existence in it. They're trying to put Frankie in charge of that little girl. No, he didn't. They're all gay, they're all faggots, they're all fucking homosexuals and shit with their transgender shit. They were never a part of that girl's life. That was me. And I'm not trying to be selfish. You know, I knew how Frankie's behavior was. None of that. But the psychologists and these people start charging me at grocery stores. They charging me all over the place. Claiming, oh, he's a lieutenant. He's Marines. He was just really taking care of Moran. Bullshit. That's a complete fraud fucking lie. I'm telling you to the fucking core, it's a fucking fraudulent fucking lie. All of it is. But I can't say anything. Because all these faggots, they want to appoint Kenneth in charge. They want their faggots and their transgenders to get the profitable gain. Then put Frankie as the gay leader because he got raped so many times as a leader. And then he just trophy winner. And then I get scummed, and then it's just, for America music again. And it's just like, and it's fucking crazy because I'm like trying to go to school, like I'm trying to do these things and not stay to that subject, and they just enjoy it. I go to Pizza Hut and they'll bring this little girl wearing like a ballerina outfit, and it'll be a white little girl. So remember, this white girl's over here gonna get it real good over here, yeah. Oh, but that's not what I mean. But then scummed my sister again. But I can't say because President Barack Obama. I can't say anything. So I just try to pray and pray. God, please. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Like, I don't even want to call her Miranda. I just say Jesus. Her name's not Miranda, it's Jesus. It's like, to have some sort of blessing with that, because, damn, I cannot express how bad. I can't tell you how many times. I'm 25 years old. I'm advanced graphics. I'm walking into the fucking little shop that they have, and I see Mike Standish having like a mourning moment of this like dead little girl that's like right next door to me as I look, and I see some other girl with brown hair, and they're sort of making a mockery of this. I mean, it's fucking crazy. People don't understand. Even before, I didn't even know this was my sister, and she died a long time ago. People are already attacking me with this shit. Like, and they're just taking ownership. And it's like, oh, we're gonna stab her. We're the angels. We're all this other shit. I'm fucking dying in a hospital, and Sarah Cooper's literally taunting with this shit. But no, it's Angel. No, it was. I don't even remember that fucking lady over at the fucking White House in Congress that I saw. Sarah Palin, or I don't even know what the fuck her name was. I mean, it was fucking crazy. People behaving like they were Sarah's the archangel of her life. I mean, it's all a lie. All a fucking lie. And everyone will treat that situation as that is, and then come after me for it. I'm the angel, I'm the archangel that fucking protects. You don't understand, I'm Jesus Christ. And I'm crazy for Jesus Christ. Like, spicking the shit out of this little girl. Like, there's no retaining any beauty to it. Oh, but I'm just an angel over here. We just raped you with Patricia Arquette and wouldn't let you have a girl because we're just President Barack Obama, an American soldier that died out in Iraq. And it's like, it's fucking crazy. Like, I wouldn't say just crazy. It's I can't deal with it other than Jesus. And they're right, Jesus. Yeah, there's nothing. Because these people, if there's anybody that could have had any, they could have put a stop to it a long time ago, immediately, and they're not. They're just running in circles like hyenas and vultures, just picking at it. Like, if she died a long time ago, that's a guarantee that if there's ever a proper burial, where there is a moment that I'm supposed to say, okay, well, Chinese piece of shit over here is apparently, part of owner of her and his burial, or I'll be like, okay, I feel sorry, I'm going to show my emotions because this piece of shit over here is talking shit. This nigga right over here, and then the murderer, your angel spirit says something for the niggas for Barack Obama. Okay, cry. That's a guarantee. That's a guarantee it's going to happen. And I hate to do it that way. I don't think you should. But that's exactly what's going to happen. We're talking about George Bush from the World Trade Center for that dead little girl. Remember, there's a lot of kids and a lot of people died in World Trade Center. I mean, it's fucking crazy. Like it's not just crazy. It really does shut the book. I mean, I could never really put that to how bad that little soul was scummed. It was very specifically for Kenneth. I mean, feel sorry for hip hop and Barack Obama. The dead little girl, banana dick daughter he has is a transgender. It's just, he deals with so much shit. That's why he was showing his food in his mouth when I was at McDonald's, and he charged at me, and he was always just, no, you weren't the president at that time. No, it's from Michael Jackson that cleaned up his music for the dead little girl. No, it's just, and so what they'll do is they'll just pick out different stories that happened. Like when I went to the nursing home and I talked about that woman standing by the door right over there. Look, I just felt that electrocuted now. They just electrocuted me just a second ago. I just felt a shudder. And it's just psychology. It's banana dick, transgender daughter, Barack Obama. It's just for the niggas. It's for the music of Michael Jackson and moving America. But that's a guarantee that I got to deal with that. That's a guarantee. That's a promise. That's a guarantee. My life has already been taken away. I was already raped. They already scummed me, giving me tickets. They already made Ken Cooper the hero. Kenneth Cooper, transgender, gays, faggots. This is all, let me just mix it up with half and half. That's always a guarantee because that poor little soul was a part of my life. And I remember how I felt with that. But I always believed that was Ivan's sister. And I thought I'd leave you with that story.